back to my channel. So I'm here with a set of spreads that I set up in my home bullet journal that I have shared on Instagram, but I wanted to come and do a video to kind of explain how I set them up and why. So let's get started. So the set of spreads is all about my next apartment. I'm hoping to move in the next year or so as things kind of settle down and all of that. So I wanted to start brainstorming some of the practical things that go along with moving. And I initially took some scratch paper and just wrote a bunch of notes because I didn't have time to sit down and organize my thoughts. I just wanted to get it all on paper because it was something that it kept coming back to me as I was thinking about other things, and so I finally just did a brain dump about all of that. And recently I was able to take some time and sit down and make up these spreads. So I have I have two main sections in here. So I have basically this left page, which is my next apartment, and this is all of the really sort of practical side of things. So for example, my budget. Once I figure out So my budget for my apartment is I basically go off of about a third of my income. And so I haven't filled this in yet because I think that in my job I'm going to be moving up a pay scale soon. And so I want to wait until I find out about that before I actually fill this in. So that's going to be when I go to look for apartments. I need to know what is my range, how much am I able and willing to spend on lodging. I have the actual costs of moving. So for example, first and last month's rent, security deposit, a commission, because I think that I'm going to go through my rental agency that I have, which means that I'll have to pay them. And then if I need to get boxes or rent a truck or various furniture aspects. So I want to sort of budget out how much it's actually going to take me to move. So not my month to month budget, which is what this is for, but my actual sort of one-off costs of moving. And even though I haven't actually filled this in yet, I did start an apartment fund because I think it's going to take a couple grand, because I've lived in furnished places since I moved to France, and this is going to be my first apartment where I will have to actually buy all of my furniture, which means it's going to be a lot of kind of bigger purchases up front, and so I need to be prepared for that. The next thing I have are some specific specifications that I'd like. So for example, the rough size of the apartment I'd like. I'd like, a 1 to 2 bedroom apartment, obviously. I've given myself a range, but ideally I would like a 2-bedroom apartment. However, I could make a 1-bedroom work as long as I had enough space in other rooms to do what I need to do. Things like being in the town center, quiet street, something near work, something that's either the first floor or higher. So in US terms, that means second floor or higher. Basically, I don't want to be on the ground floor. I want to have a building that actually has recycling, because mine does not. A good sized kitchen, something with a washing machine, or at least a washing machine hookup. So random things like that. I've left a little bit of space here, but I didn't really go super in depth on specific rooms because that's what the rest of the spreads are for. So, and then things that I would really like but aren't a deal breaker if I don't get them are things like a balcony, having a real tub as opposed to a shower, and having the space or the ability to put in a dishwasher. I do still have a little bit of space left in here, and I'm not sure if I'm going to use it, but I figure I'll fill it in if I need to, and I won't if I don't. So that's sort of the very nitty gritty logistical side of things. And obviously I'm still kind of working on this, but like I said, this move is probably potentially even a year out. If I could do it in 6 months, that would be great, but I'm kind of planning on it being potentially in about a year. So that's giving me some time to plan things in advance. The next thing I have in here are all of my wish list spreads. So I've labeled them all my ideal and then the room. So this is basically, if I could have the apartment of my dreams, exactly what I wanted, this is the stuff that I would want in it. Now, obviously that is not necessarily going to happen. I'm going to be constrained by, what I find in the locations I want at the price I want. However, I wanted to sort of sit down and think, okay, if I get to choose exactly what I have in my apartment, what do I want? And then from there, I can decide, okay, is this something that's a deal breaker? I absolutely want this in my apartment, or If I find it, great. If not, I can live without it. So I went through sort of room by room, the main rooms in the apartment, and sort of unintentionally, actually, I started by the rooms that I have the most sort of specific like requirements of. So, for example, the kitchen for me is very important. I cook a lot constantly. I very rarely go out to eat because I have dietary restrictions. I also just really like to cook. And one of the things that I won't even say dislike, but that I'm most disappointed about in my current apartment is that I really don't have the space, like the physical space, to host more than about like 3 people. That's something that I would like to be different in my new apartment, and it's also something that as I'm like planning through, I'm realizing with how I'm using my space in my current apartment, I really need more space in my kitchen. So I did a little sketch up here of like, obviously, this is not what I expect it to look like, but these are basically all of the elements that I would like to have in the kitchen in whatever configuration. So, for example, I currently have a 2 burner induction oven and I have a tabletop oven that is basically the size of an oversized toaster oven. So one of the first things was I wanted to have a 4 burner stove and an oven. I would like to have a lot more counter space than I currently have because I have very little right now. I want a washing machine. This is actually a deal breaker. If I don't have a hookup for a washing machine, it's not the apartment for me because I'm definitely over that laundromat life. Like, yeah. I would like to have enough space to have not a full fridge, a 2/3 size fridge, which I don't actually think that's the like official term for it, but most people that I talk to here in France kind of know what I'm talking about, where if you take the like massive refrigerators that we have in the US and you like cut about a third of it off, it's kind of like that. Like think the old like super retro fridges from like the 60s. If like that's kind of what I'm thinking. And one of the reasons is that I currently have like a university sized fridge. So if you went to university and you had a little fridge in your dorm room or in your apartment or whatever, like that's kind of what I have, and I don't even have a functioning freezer. So that's a big one for me. And then a lot of shelving space, cabinets, a nice big sink, and I would like to have windows and a lot of light in my kitchen because I love having like natural light when I'm cooking and that kind of stuff. So that was sort of the actual layout. And then I sat down and I was thinking, okay, I currently live in a furnished apartment. What am I going to need? So I have the things that I need to get, things that I physically just don't have that when I move out of this apartment, I can't take with me. So I'm going to have those in order to be able to use my kitchen. And then I have a couple of things that are things that I would like to add to my collection eventually, but aren't things that I'm going to need like straight off the bat to be able to, function in my space. And then I also have the washing machine in here. That one is a question mark because while I want a washing machine, I'm actually not 100% sure what sorts of appliances come in apartments. I've heard of people here who have to buy absolutely everything like fridge, dishwasher, oven, like all of that kind of stuff. But then there are some where parts of the kitchen might be partially furnished already in terms of like just like your basic big appliances. So that's why it's a question mark. If the apartment doesn't have a washing machine, I'll have to buy it. If it does, I don't. If that makes sense. Next up, I have my ideal living room. So these first 3 are actually the most important ones for me because I currently live in a 1 bedroom, and that means that I basically have a kitchen, smallish kitchen, with a table, and that is where I do everything. I do all of my YouTube filming, I do all of my bullet journaling, I do all of my happy mail, my crafting, my lesson prep for work, all of my cooking, like everything happens on this table, which means that anytime I need to like drastically change the like topic of my work, I have to clear off the entire table in order to have enough space to work. And so that is one of those things where the kitchen, the living room, and my office, I want to separate those spaces. So that's why these 3 are the first ones. And then the next thing is that I have a bedroom, but I basically have what we call a click clack. So it's basically a futon, but it's nicer than a lot of the futons that I had when I was in college. And so it basically serves as my bed and my couch, and I have my TV in there. So that was something that I wanted to be able to separate that out. I do it because I don't have a choice, but I don't really like to have my couch also be my bed because I feel like it's not, I don't know, it's not really good when I'm trying to fall asleep. I have a harder time like disconnecting from, I don't know what it is, but I want to be able to separate that. So my living room is the next big one. Now, you guys will know I've talked about, I want to be able to host people for dinner parties and that kind of stuff and have space to work. So one of the things that I really want is to have a table that has leaves that you can take out. So basically, if it's just me, it's a circular table, and then if I invite people over, I can add in leaves to make it a longer like oval and have room for more people. So I'd like to have a dining nook over here. And then I would like to have sort of a sitting room, like entertainment. So a bookshelf, a TV, a coffee table, like extra comfy seating, a really nice sofa that turns into a bed for guests, and like end tables, like that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, there are other things that I would potentially want to have in here, like pictures and plants and I don't know what. But this is like the main outline. And once again, I did a list of things that I absolutely need. So I live in a furnished apartment. I don't have any of this furniture, so I would have to buy all of it. And then things that I want. So for example, right now I just have mood lighting and throw pillows. So like, putting up fairy lights or having nice like lamps around the room for when I'm reading and I don't want to have an overhead light. Also, lights in general if the apartment doesn't come with overhead lighting, which sometimes can kind of happen. And then the other thing or the other section over here is one of the things that's on my wish list but isn't a deal breaker, and that is a balcony. So if I were to have a place that had a balcony, I would like to be able to fit a table, like a small table and maybe one or two chairs, and potentially even a grill for like summer cooking. Again, this is like best case scenario kind of thing. Next, I have my ideal office, which this is another big one for me because I want to be able to separate like where I eat from where I work. And I also want to have where I work from where I do all of my like crafting hobbies and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. So again, this is ideal. I know this seems like I want a huge place for just me, but this is like if I got everything I absolutely wanted, this is what I want. And so in my office, I would want to have a craft table with like studio lighting, some sort of stationery storage. I don't know what that would look like, but cabinets and drawers and something like that. I'd like to get a rasker cart because I've seen a lot of people on like Instagram, for example, they have them, and it's really nice to be able to move it if you wanted to like work in your living room, for example. I think that would be a nice thing to have, and it would also double as storage, obviously. Then I would want to have a table for work. So as a teacher, I have a ton of paper. I, have projects that I have to make for my classes, for like lessons that we want to do. I have like textbooks that I collect. So I want to have a nice big table where I can work on all of that. And if I'm in the middle of something, I can leave it there, as well as a bookshelf. I'm thinking, if it's in the second bedroom, for example, there might even be a closet for storage space. So that might be that would be useful. A nice comfortable chair, maybe some sort of like a corner setup where I have like something nice in the background to do filming for vlogs and like that kind of stuff. So just basically things like that. I also have noted on here that I would like to have a convertible standing desk, which again, that's like a really, really ideal situation because I know a lot of them can be pretty expensive. But because all of my hobbies for the most part, and even my job, like aside from when I'm physically in the classroom, but all of the like at home stuff, I tend to spend a lot of time sitting. So it would be nice for me to have a standing desk. I think that would help a lot. So again, I have the need and the want. Again, I don't have any of this stuff aside from like the actual like stationery side and like things that I've got from school this year. But the big furniture is the stuff that goes in the need list for right now. Everything else I've pretty much got. Then my last two, and you'll see my quick fix here. So this, I have to laugh at myself because literally I wrote out the header, my ideal bedroom. And as I was looking at my notes, I was thinking, wow, it's so cool that I haven't made any like major flubs as I was doing the set of spreads. Like that's really cool. They might actually all turn out looking really nice. And then I started drawing and literally finished drawing this entire section here and realized that I had just drawn the bathroom under the bedroom. Like, had to laugh at myself for that one. So I was like, well, it's already done. I'm not gonna like try and scratch it out and like white it out or whatever. So I just went ahead and I set up the correct header for what it was supposed to be, drew the picture that I was supposed to draw over here, and just drew an arrow, like, and I'm calling it fixed. So we're going to ignore the fact that that says bedroom. So my ideal bathroom. And again, this normally would be the last one because the bathroom is not nearly as important as other places in the apartment, but I messed up, so whatever. So, ideally, I would like to have a real tub so that I could be able to take baths because currently I only have a shower and it's really nice for like quick, like everyday stuff, but I kind of miss being able to take baths when I'd like to. I'd like to have a nice mirror with, what do we call those? Like a medicine cabinet behind it for storage and a sink with, a nice like a bigger counter if possible and like more space, a towel warmer because I have one of those and it's amazing, some kind of storage for towels and like various other things, and obviously the toilet. Now, weird thing about France, and I don't know if this is something that you have in other countries, but a lot of times in bigger apartments, you're going to have a bathroom, like with your shower and sink and all of that, and a toilet in like a separate room. And so I have drawn the toilet in here, but that is not necessarily what's going to happen, and I don't really care either way. I mean, obviously, coming from the US, I'm used to having the toilet in the bathroom. That's like just the way we do it there. But, it's going to be kind of whatever it is. But basically, the basics. I want to have the basics in here. And honestly, the only like kind of specific thing that I want for the bathroom is that I would like to have a tub. Then we have the bedroom. And this one, again, like I have added in absolutely everything that I would like, but I would not at all be sad if my room were smaller than this and I didn't have room for all of this kind of stuff because, like, not the end of the world. But if I could have my way, I would like to have a big queen size bed, bedside table, have an actual closet, which is sometimes hard to find here. Possibly another bookshelf because I have been really keeping my personal library down to a minimum because I've moved overseas twice since in the past 10 years. And so I'd like to be able to actually start collecting books and that kind of stuff again. So I have bookshelves in multiple rooms. I would like to have a little reading nook with a nice like lazy boy chair, which if you don't know, it's basically one of those that has like the connected footrest that comes up. And I really like them because I like to curl up when I read. Like I basically just curl up into a ball. And I like having that footrest up because it makes it easier to curl up. I don't know why, but that's just the way it goes. Have an end table, have like fairy lights behind there. I'd like to have a full length mirror because I have never had one. It's probably been like 8 years since I've actually had a full length mirror in any of my apartments. And it's kind of nice to just be able to like check and not have to stand on a chair in your bathroom, which I do if I have to, in order to see like the full effect of an outfit. Anyway, and this is like a question mark one, but I think it would be kind of cool to have like a vanity and a stool. Again, this in particular is not something that I need. Like I don't do a ton of makeup or anything like super fancy with my hair. But I do have like jewelry and knickknacks and that kind of stuff. So like if I didn't have room for this, I wouldn't be sad because I would just keep it in the bathroom kind of thing. But again, I was doing my absolute like ideal. And then last thing is a dresser. So this was just how I set things up. And I think that if I were to ever move in the future, I would not need to do this as much because I would already have like the main pieces of furniture. The reason that I felt the need to make this many and this detailed of spreads was that, like I mentioned, I have always lived in furnished places since I've been in France. And so I just don't have a lot of the furniture. And so I really I needed to visualize what do I actually need because, thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to have a table. But in reality, I'm not sure that it's hit me that I don't have furniture. I'm going to have to buy all of that. And so I wanted to make it very, very clear as I'm on here. Make it very clear and lay it out on here exactly what I'd like, what I'm going to need to buy. Now again, once I actually find my apartment and I see how is the space laid out, is it actually going to be a 2-bedroom? Is it going to be a 1-bedroom? Is it going to be, a 2-bedroom, but one of the bedrooms is really small, so I'm not going to have room for as much stuff. Once I see all of that, I'll make an actual list and I'll start looking at specific places and, start pricing okay, what a queen size bed, how much does that cost? This was honestly just a brainstorming thing for what I would like. But once it gets closer and I need to be more practical about it, I will probably end up making spreads about that as well, if we're being honest. And one of the things that I want to start doing is start researching, maybe not the specific pieces of furniture that I want, but the general cost. Okay, roughly how much is a queen size bed? Roughly how much is a dining room table set or something like that? And again, these are things that for my first apartment that, I have to buy all of the furniture. if we're being perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure like 80 to 90% of it is going to come from IKEA. And I will save like specific individual items that I want to find, like, maybe not just like mass manufactured. Maybe I want to look elsewhere for them. So, these are also going to be things that as I stay in the place longer, I might, upgrade or change them out for something different or like what have you. But this was just kind of to get it out of my head and onto paper so that I could stop feeling quite so overwhelmed about like the whole move, because this is going to be a big one. Like it's definitely going to be a big move. And so I'm hoping that this will help me sort of stay organized. And as I go through the process more, like I mentioned, I'll probably add in other spreads to help me kind of stay on top of things. But I think that for a start, this is pretty good. So I hope that that was clear. If you guys have any comments or questions, or if you guys have any tips for things that you have like researched or looked at, like anything about moving, because honestly, like I've moved apartments, but it's been a long time since I've had to do like a complete from scratch move. So I'm sure that I've forgotten some like really important things. Like obviously I haven't even put anything in here about like bills. So like heating and water and like internet and like all that kind of stuff. I haven't even touched that. Like I know I'm going to have to, but like this was just for the basic, the bones of the apartment kind of thing. So if you guys have any other tips or tricks or spreads that you guys found useful, or like, specific things that you looked into the last time you moved, let me know in the comment section. I hope that this is helpful if you're somebody who is going to be moving in the near future, as a potential way of organizing your move. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. So I will see you guys in my next video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.